And we're back with Ahlaam Ali, who was telling us about the barriers that she felt when she entered the F&B industry, what the challenges were. And would you like to continue where we stopped recording?
Sure. Yeah. Okay, so generally the barriers to entry, if you've got an innovative idea and an innovative product, the barriers to entry are really low. And if you've got the first mover advantage, that's the best thing to do. Now, once you've got that first mover advantage, you have to make sure that you keep innovating to keep ahead of that advantage. Otherwise, inevitably, people will get into competition with you. People with less scruples and no ideas of their own will actually jump onto the bandwagon. As happened with me, we did the whole food plant-based power jars. And immediately following that, we had a whole bunch of people jumping in on the bandwagon. So you've got to keep innovating, innovating, innovating. 5 years later, we realized that even though we were innovating, some people had way bigger budgets. So yes, very important, make sure you have enough operational costs to keep you going for a year while you're setting up the business. This is a very critical lesson that I learned being in business. You have to have minimum operating costs for a year set aside that you don't dip into, except for the operating costs, which is the rental, the salaries, the ingredients and all of that, logistics, all of that. And then any revenues that you've got, keep building on that. But assume that for 6 months to a year, you will just not break. Any new business, F&B especially, starts in year 3, actual, if you take capital expenditure and everything into account. So please, please get somebody smart, or you guys are smart enough, somebody who's very au fait with numbers to actually do your business plan for you and a realistic business plan. So I get a lot of people saying to me, oh, Ahlaam, can you help us on this business plan and invest in our business because we will break even in 6 months. And I'm like, no. Let me tell you from experience, you will not break even in 6 months. And by the time you've reached 6 months, you've got competition coming in. So you might as well close shop and not carry on. So the rules to remember: innovate, innovate, innovate. Keep your operational costs low and keep aside money for the operational costs. And then just make sure that you're constantly cost cutting, obviously. That's a very obvious one, but sometimes we forget to do that while running the business. And then the other challenges are always the staffing and quality control. Staffing is very critical. You've got to keep motivating them. You've got to make them feel part of the team, which I'm sure you all understand anyways. And constant training up and constantly monitoring them. So I found that was the biggest challenge. But I had some very good staff that had been with me for a few years. So I knew that quality was above board. So as I was saying in my other episode, you've got one chance to speak to your clients, to your customers, the first time they order. Blow away their socks, make the product so good and the service so outstanding that even when competitors come in, you're still standing head and shoulders above them with your quality of your product, your service, your delivery, your customer feedback loop, all of that. You've got to stand out amongst the rest. And that's when you consistently build and deliver well. You're building your brand. And yes, branding. Your branding should be really, really clear, out there, funky, clean, and really memorable. So for us, for instance, when we did the vegan cheese logo, and the branding, it had to be green, it had to be white for minimalistic, it had to portray that it's plant-based. So we actually have a really, really nice logo, which is a leaf with holes in it like cheese. I should probably show it to you, but I'd have to go off camera to bring it actually. But yes, branding is a very, very critical part of your marketing aspect. You should stand out. So even when people look at that leaf, they know it's us. For instance, our power jars was always with 2 W's. Everything we did was power with 2 W's. So the minute we did it, people knew it was us. And then you're building your brand in the market, and people come back just because you've got consistency, you've got quality, you've got good service. They keep coming back to you. So those are the main things. Challenges can be the competitors, the economic climate, like right now. However good you are, you're bound to kind of collapse in an economy like this. But like I said, you've got to pick and choose and you've got to plan. You see, a lot of companies that I know of have been doing pandemic planning. And I didn't know, I hadn't heard about it until recently. Some of the bigger multinationals have been doing pandemic planning. And, how many of us would have thought of this? So contingency plans, that is very important. Some sort of money set aside to deal with operational costs when you don't have revenues coming in. Or if some sort of external disaster, force majeure strikes, what are you going to be doing? And I think I read something really, really well, which really works for me. Have a mastermind group in whatever you do, whatever business, have a group of people like Shireen is for me. Have a mastermind group where you can say, okay, guys, I need to sound something out. I need your advice. I'm at a bit of a stalemate. How can you give me your ideas? You get together with these people, 4, 5, 6, whatever, 2, who you really trust, and they're almost your mentors, and you mentor them back. So, for instance, I could call Shireen and I say, okay, this has struck, what do I do? And, like she came up with this, she'd actually been to, Shireen, you've been to this seminar, the webinar that talked about how to reopen gradually the hotels, right?
Yeah.
So I find information like that, when you bring it in, different people from different industries and different expertise bring in this knowledge to the table. So it helps you make the right decisions. So it's very critical to have that mastermind group. So yeah, I hope this helps.
When you talked about healthy eating and the healthy lifestyle, I now see that it does not just remain to food, but also to your entire lifestyle, your way of dealing with people, your relationships around you, the way you're talking about Ma'am Shireen. It gives off that really healthy, wholesome, that positive vibe that you were referring to earlier on. And also
it's very important. It's very important to have healthy relationships. And trust people. I mean, obviously you can't trust everybody, but then, if you have good vibes, you meet people with good vibes, I believe.
True.
If you have clear intentions, you meet people with clean intentions who will always be happy to help.
Agreed. But yeah, like coming back to what you were talking about, you gave us a lot of, business school tips and tricks over here right now, and the MBA essentials on brand building. But coming back to the business school part, so a lot of people like me, we students in one of the most competitive business schools in Pakistan, we tend to be under a lot of stress and anxiety a lot of times. And you, I believe, are also a licensed hypnotherapist and also work as a stress and anxiety management coach. So A, I want to know what attracted you towards that specialty, and B, what are some tips for people like me, for students?
That's a very pertinent question, Sharik. Well asked. So how did I get attracted to this? Because I feel, and I've experienced this, that well-being, weight loss, and generally a happy life is all in our head. It's an inside job. We cannot depend on outside factors to actually make us happy or to de-stress or to help us lose weight. It's all an inside job. So I've been experimenting with a lot of and exploring a lot of spirituality, meditation, NLP, which is neuro-linguistic your brain to think differently, to kind of reframe the situation you're in. So for instance, right now, due to isolation, a lot of my friends were falling apart, they were having breakdowns, they were kind of losing their cool, to put it more politely. Whereas actually for me, I just reframed it and I thought, I will never get this chance again. What do I really enjoy doing? I'm going to do it now. This is the moment. This is the time. This is the time period allocated to me to explore my passions. So for instance, photography and food styling and creating more cheeses. Before we were kind of just catering to the masses. and giving them the cheeses they want. This gave me the time to stand back and create more new sort of options, do more photography, and dig deep into spirituality. So it's about reframing any situation you are in. Any situation can be good or bad. So yes, for instance, my son is now stuck in Cambridge and he can't get out. He tried to board the plane, but UAE had closed all borders. So I was stressing about him, and he turned around and he goes, "It's okay, Mom. It's all good. I've got lots of time to study here now, and I've got time to cook. So I'm going to learn how to cook. I'm going to Google all the recipes and use your book and create new recipes." And I'm thinking, okay, that's really mature. That's really sensible. Some kids are having breakdowns, but it's about how you reframe. The fact that you've got this time, you're isolated, what are you going to do with it? So that's what drew me into thinking it's all in the head. So with you people, stress is high. How do you combat it? I've been through the stressful phase of the MBA, so I know that it's constantly studying and not really thinking of your health or your eating or your exercise. So one first bit of advice I would give is to step back and think about why you're doing this program. So once you've thought about it, write it down. You're doing it for better prospects, to be successful in life, to be able to get a good job, to set up a business, etc. Then add on, so that's your core. But if you do the wheel of life where there's family, there's health, there's social life, there's personal development, there's education, there's job. And if you join all the dots, it's called the circle of life. And if on one item you're spending your number 10, which is studies, on the others, socializing, health, well-being, exercise, it's number 1, number 2, number 3. When you join the dots on the circle, and if it's crooked and not a smooth circle, you'll find it's a bumpy ride. So the idea is to be a 5 or a 6 or a 7 on all the different aspects of your life. I mean, it's called the wheel of life. So it means you build in a good routine. So I was asked to speak at the $1 Million Roundtable Conference in Canada, and they were all uber successful millionaires and billionaires. However, their health was suffering and their relationships were suffering. So the main thing I said to them was, find in a day, find an hour of power. And that's going to set you up for the day. All successful people now do this. So in that hour of power, I recommend 20 minutes of meditation, 20 minutes of exercise, and 20 minutes of a peaceful, wholesome breakfast. That sets you up for the day. So if you guys can take on these 3 tips about the hour of power, I guess you guys will be doing really well. And then you wanted to ask me about how to eat healthy on a budget.
Yeah. So that was another question that I had, like most students at college, we've got a budget that we need to maintain.
Yeah.
So especially in the context of Pakistan, where finding products like quinoa is not very easy. And even if we do find them, they're a bit expensive.
True.
So how does one end up eating healthier over here?
It's a very, very good question. It's a trap we all fall into. We go for takeaways and we go for the really easy option. But what I remember from LUMS, you guys are actually much better off than many of the other universities. You've got houses where you have cooks.
Really?
Really?
No, can I interrupt you? She came for a course and she was staying at that REDC.
At a faculty.
Yeah.
Oh no.
That hotel.
Okay, you also REDC.
No, it wasn't a... Sorry, say that again.
You stayed at LUMS as well, right?
I did, and it was actually at a house for students, and there was a resident cook. So anyways,
sure?
I assume that's not happening anymore.
I don't think so. It's been 4 years. I think I've lived at a different LUMS.
Okay. So assuming you don't have access to a beautiful home with a chef, I think the thing to do is to think very clean, very wholesome. Leave out anything that's really processed. The things like biscuits, anything out of a packet.
Oh no.
Anything that, here's the thing, Sharik, anything that doesn't go bad is bad for you.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. When you put it that way, it does.
Yeah. In a packet, it's got preservatives, it's got additives, it's got every rubbish thing you can think of. It sits on the shelves for 6 months to a year, and then we eat it. So crisps, biscuits, Coke, sodas, all of that. I know that's the staple diet in universities.
Yeah.
So the first thing to do is cut out sugar.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Second, yeah. Secondly, cut out all the processed foods. If you can do those two things, you're well on your journey. And then think about bringing in wholesome food. So whole grains like wheat, like rice, like, okay, quinoa is a bit difficult to find over there, but you can do all other grains, you know. There's rice is probably your best friend, brown rice.
Mhm.
Okay, so, okay, fish, vegetables, rice. You could do chapatis as long as they're whole wheat chapatis. Just keep it clean, keep the fat while cooking really low. I know, do you guys mostly eat out?
So we've
Do you
got,
take
we,
away?
we do a lot of takeaway, and then we've got a, cafeteria sort of place
Okay,
where they've got a weekly cyclical menu, and it rotates every week. So we've got like 3 different you know
excellent.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we've got a few options in each of them. I mean, the food quality I'm not going to comment on, but we do have that option as well. But other than that, we've got Subway, and we've got a Chinese takeout place, and a
So
barbecue
then,
joint.
what we're saying here is that nothing out of a packet basically, and all of those crisps and all, no. But then the
Yeah.
that you have at TDC, so the cooked food that you get, for example, the dal or any of those
Mm.
Pakistani dishes, they're fresh, they're cooked right there. I mean, that's a healthier option than eating.
Yeah, I think that,
Then eating
right.
Subway.
Absolutely.
Subway one says, oh, out of all the fast food, probably the healthiest in Pakistan, but it's not. It's all
Yeah,
processed meat. So,
Yeah.
bread,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, the freshly
And
cooked.
then the 50 other sauces that you put on top. I mean, I think that just makes it the most unhealthiest option of them all.
Absolutely. And we
So,
think we're eating healthy. Another misconception in Pakistan is that if you're eating sandwiches, you're fine.
mm, yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
actually you're not. It's best to avoid the bread, but instead have exactly what Shireen said, very wholesome, freshly cooked home food or canteen food. Even from the canteen food, you can cafeteria food, you can actually pick and choose the healthier options.
Yeah, you're
You know,
right.
do you have a biryani, or do you have a barbecued
Mm,
item, or do you have like a curry? What do you have? You know, you could actually pick and choose. Make sure, first of all, the best thing to build your plate always is, first of all, half your plate should be veggies.
vegetables.
So whether
Okay.
it's a salad or a sabzi that's been cooked or whatever, fill your plate, half of it with the vegetables. Then the other quarter, fill it with protein, clean protein. Ideally, if it's a curry, pick out the chicken or the meat or whatever. And then the other quarter, you fill with carbs, good carbs.
Mhm.
And good carbs are either chapatis or the rice. Ideally, no bread, because bread has a lot of white flour. It's got sugar, it's got yeast, it's got all of that. So keep it as clean as possible. That's the idea, basically. And if you're on a weight loss program, cut out the rice. Just have half of your plate as veggies, the other half as protein, and you're fine.
So, Sharik, but let me interject here and tell you that Ahlaam loves potatoes. She loves
Yeah.
fries. It's not like she doesn't eat French fries. She does it all.
Mhm.
It's, I don't think
I allocate one day in a week where I will have the French fries,
yeah.
but then
Okay.
I'll choose the sweet potato over the regular potatoes.
Yeah, you see, that's where she makes the difference. Even the
Little
carbs that
switches.
she's taking in.
Yes,
Yeah.
so
Exactly.
it's not like Ahlaam is not someone who has a boring life while eating.
Hmm.
I mean, her
No, of
Exactly.
course not. Yeah.
is exciting.
Exactly. It's got to be fun.
Yeah, she loves food. She loves good food, and it's always I love going out with her. And besides all the other stuff that I was making fun of, that I would not want to be that waiter or the manager of that that point. But, you know, but no.
So the funny thing is, yeah, the funny thing is that when we were doing our power jars, we had some really difficult customers on our program. And I would turn around, my staff would turn around and say, oh my God, she's such a nightmare to work with. And I would be thinking, yeah, and I'm probably the nightmare to other eating places. They're exactly like me. So we're just picky, so are they. So I'm sorry we got to deal with them because the boss is really difficult. So the customers have the
why
right
don't
to be
you
difficult.
tell us about a certain customer, this course, and I think we could learn a little bit from that.
That's a very good question as well, because now literally those customers have now become very good friends. So it's about how you manage the difficult ones. So we had one who's now a really good friend.
Once you tell the story, then you will find out whether they're still your friends.
Without taking any names, or any revealing information.
Put stories up so that I've seen her deal with them now on the phone like for hours. Oh my God, they can.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
So we had one who would say, oh, I got one piece of celery in my jar and I can't eat it. Can you take it all back, please? And they're the divas, okay? And they'd be like, oh, I can't eat this, and oh, I can't eat that. And I'm like, oh my God, just take it out and eat the rest. And they'd be like, no, take it all back. And I'm like, oh my God, can we shoot them? So between us, the staff and myself and my PA, we'd ask each other, do you think we would get away with killing that particular customer this month? So every month we'd have one customer who we put on our hit list, and we would say, okay, throw darts at that customer's name, for God's sake,
Yeah.
But then we had to manage them. So we would say to them, look, what if you take it out and then have the rest? And then, so we'd be fine, we'll change it for you. We did that a couple of times. After that, we said, listen, we can't be that picky because it's being made in a group. It's not customized 100%, otherwise it would cost you a lot more. So it's a combination of indulging them a little but being firm with them, and that seemed to work. Then we had another client who would say, oh, the driver arrived 1 minute late. I'm like, yes, that's fine. No, that's not fine. 1 minute late is too late. And at that time we had an older gentleman who was trying to stay in work because his family wouldn't support him, from Pakistan. And he was a lovely guy, very hardworking, but of course he was a little slow. So I had to turn around and tell this client, look, I'm sorry you don't like the fact that he's a minute late. We give ourselves 5 to 10 minutes either side. We can be late, we can be early, because there's 40 deliveries to do. And I really understand, I really hope you understand that our delivery guy is an older gentleman, and I'm sure you will want to support him, in us keeping him in his job. And suddenly they went like, yeah, absolutely. They didn't want to look bad that he's losing his job because of them. So you kind of have to
This is what they don't teach you in business school, spinning the narrative and making it into your own, in a way that it works for your brand. Yes. This is something that you learn from talks like these, which is why,
business school, believe me, they don't.
Hello.
Wait, she's back now.
Oh my God, I was like,
oh, welcome back.
But it's still recording.
It is.
Recording.
Hopefully.
No, but there's this whole gap in between. I think we can do something with that.
I'll just
It's
talk
fine.
about, I saw
Yeah,
that
yeah.
happening. So,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. So I was saying how, why I decided to go in for NLP and life coaching. It's about being emotionally mature. It's about reframing a difficult situation and dealing with people, difficult people. So as I was saying, it's very important to have NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, as part of a business course, to be honest. It would be amazing if you guys could have that, because it really changes the way you look at situations, problem solving, all of that. So
Agreed. Yeah.
for instance, right now, when the cheese deliveries, because of this isolation, there could be no cheese deliveries. If you look at Kareem, which is a Pakistani CEO actually, who's doing amazingly well, he was so innovative, he actually introduced Kareem Box, which is people on a motorbike coming in, you order them, 6 minutes later, they're at your doorstep. You can have food delivered, you can have groceries picked up, you can deliver cheese, you can deliver jars, you can deliver anything you want, and they would do it in a refrigerated box, you know. So it's about being problem solvers. So hypnotherapy and also life coaching and NLP helped me with enabling and empowering people to lose weight, because losing weight, getting fit, getting healthy is all in the head. It's a mental challenge more than a physical challenge. So that's why I went into it, and also to be able to deal with the different problems that come up. How do you deal with it? With changing the CD in your head. So, sometimes we all say, oh, we can't do this because, I don't know, we don't have a degree, or I can't be successful because I'm a woman and I run a family and there's a glass ceiling, or I'm too short, or I'm too tall, or I'm too fat, or I'm too dark. It's about breaking those stereotypes in our heads, because it's in our head. It's not anybody else, I mean, for instance, if you look at Irfan Khan, the actor, the
Gotcha. Yeah.
Bollywood actor, he was so average. He was so not from a Bollywood dynasty. He was a nobody. But the way he was dark, he was not typically good looking, he was nothing. And it was all about himself saying, you know, there's no stereotype. I don't have to belong to a fancy family with a Bollywood background. I don't have to be good looking. I don't have to be, smart. I can be anything I want to be. And he ended up in Hollywood. He's done 100 movies that so many of our existing Bollywood stereotypical people haven't made it there. It's all about changing the CD and crashing all the cons. So I hope that's answered your questions.
It has, and it has answered a lot more too. So thank you for that.
Absolute
Ma'am, I
pleasure.
think we're
Yeah,
running a bit
thank you
short
so
in
much,
time, I
Ahlaam.
believe. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and I hope there's not too much of a lapse in the recording, but
Hopefully
that's
not.
fine.
Yeah.
That's
I
fine.
think there was about a minute.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
and then we recapped on that, so we're okay.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for your time. It was lovely, and
Absolutely.
I hope we can do this again soon. Talk about something
Sure.
else and have
Yeah.
a course maybe, or whatever we think of, we come up with, we create.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you guys. Very invigorating. I love the questions.
So thank you.
Very
Thank you for giving
pertinent.
us your time and, for telling us so many tips and for, sharing your insights about the healthy lifestyle with all of us who are in much in dire need of it today. And, with the current situation that is going
Tarek,
on.
I want you to send a photograph of your iftar now that you're going to have.
Oh, definitely. Okay. Done.
All right.
I need to see that.
No, but I
Obviously,
definitely want the book. So I'm going to be, getting in touch with you and getting
Sure.
my hands on that book.
Absolutely.
But
Absolute
thank
pleasure,
you.
guys. Take care.
thank you.
Lovely
Take
chatting to
care.
you. All right. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye.